We'll see. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. That algorithm sometimes has some secrets to me, and then you know, they can kind of manifest. So expecting maybe a 2-1, that would be pretty cool. In the top right-hand side of the map, it is for Platinum Heroes, AqueroN.
And his opponent, spawning down on the bottom left for Team Liquid, the father of all Polish Protoss players, it is MaNa.
Ooh, look at AqueroN. Ruben Villanueva. He is, Villanueva. His last name means new village, and that's exactly what he's trying to do here.
Ooh.
Set himself up for a new village somewhere out on the map.
Is he building 2 barracks in opposite ends of the map? Is that?
It sure looks like it, but I mean, I don't know.
Okay,
there
there's
goes one. Okay.
Yeah.
Just gonna scout maybe.
Is it gonna be an engineering bay block with this one?
Oh, I mean, that would be a little bit strange, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. This is advanced mind gaming 101.
I mean, there's no 101 class where they teach you this kind of stuff. I'll say this has gotta be like an advanced one for sure. And MaNa's gonna react to it very promptly here to the eBay block, and he's gonna scout AqueroN, and he's gonna see a barracks there and back away, and he's gonna be like, okay, that's kind of normal. Little does he know, there's already a barracks out on the map. Let's see what that amounts to, though, Steadfast. I mean, sometimes builds like this, you know, on paper, AqueroN has gotten everything that he wants from this. Will that amount to something? Because it's gonna be Marauder Rush here.
Yes, and the command center is not going to be built. Gotta cancel that pretty soon. Oh,
nice.
It flashed 1 HP for just a second, which is weird because it was on 17 H. I don't know how that happened. I think my brain just lied to me. MaNa is going for a proxy Stargate. This is a very weird setup, but I think in theory this should favor MaNa a lot, no?
Yeah, and so long as AqueroN doesn't have those Marines in the main, basically, or doesn't scout the Stargate, he's gonna have a lot of trouble holding. However, I mean, on the other side of the map, MaNa is dropping a Nexus that will be delayed enough that there's not really a setup there with shield batteries, and the Nexus won't have enough HP. So that AqueroN's attack is also looking pretty strong. The problem for him is Marauders. They won't stack up well against... Oh, okay. Well, I mean... This is about to get weirder. I actually just throw all of that out the window. This one Oracle is gonna have the potential to kill every SCV or as many SCVs as its energy allows. But will MaNa be able to survive on the other side is now the question.
And it looks like the answer should be no. He's only got 1 gateway unit on the map. It is very late for his 2nd gateway. Ooh, Probe is going to see these Marines. Oh, man, this looks so deadly, actually.
He's just going to ignore the Nexus. He's going to be pretty happy. Oh, Nexus, nice. Those are 400 resources that you don't have. The Oracle's going to be recalled. There's 4 Marines here. Are they going to be able to target fire the Oracle? No, a little bit too late to turn their attention to that. So he's just going to have to be happy with whatever probe damage he can do. That Oracle is eventually going to run out of energy, but is it going to be before these Marauders are dealt with? Has AqueroN done enough? What do you think, Steadfast? Very difficult to tell. It looks like yes.
It's hard to say. Not killing one of those Marauders is actually a huge deal. Oh, nice Mineral Walk right there. Gets the Marauder. The other one will stay alive.
Oh, wow.
The fact that he split the target fire up is actually so catastrophic for MaNa. 2 Marauders lived with like less than 5 HP. And now I do think he has done enough. And I think if he'd killed that 1 Marauder, MaNa would have actually been totally fine. But as it stands, this is looking very scary.
Very, very scary. I mean, those 2 Marauders surviving with 1 tick of HP, basically from any relevant attack that's from a unit that's not a probe, right? So if that Oracle had just that tiny bit more energy, or if it had focus fired a little bit better, perhaps, then like you were saying, this 2 to do a lot less damage. However, MaNa still has some cards on the table. He's going to cross the map with these 2 Oracles. They're going to be difficult to account for. There is a Cyclone out, but it can be taken down, especially if it's not being intended to, and it will not be. The Oracles will get on top of it right away. It falls, and now Oracles with free reign to do whatever they want. AqueroN's pulling back, and now, I mean, I like this situation for MaNa, I think, but this game's crazy.
It is so crazy. If that 2nd Cyclone were a little bit faster, this wouldn't have been so bad, but as it is, still not even out on the field. The units will get home for AqueroN, but the command center is a little bit delayed. 6 SCVs go down, and MaNa is right back in this game. He's going to be able to double pump probes very hard and should be able to get himself situated once again. I actually don't like that he goes for a... well, I don't know. Maybe he might be able to actually snowball it with 3 Oracles again, having killed the 1 Cyclone. What do you think about this prioritizing the Oracle over additional probes?
I think it's very interesting. I mean, he wants to keep on the pressure. Like you said, he killed a Cyclone. He didn't know how far along the second Cyclone was. So without that information, I think I like the decision from MaNa. Given what AqueroN has been doing throughout, it's like you were saying, right? Like looking at, like with gut vision, it doesn't look as good. But we'll see what he can accomplish here as the Oracles are going to reveal themselves. Those supply depots need to go up. They will. And the Widowmine a little bit late to kind of hide. The Adepts are going to get into the main, but to no avail. That shade is not what you want at this point, and the Widowmine will be repositioned to somewhere where MaNa hasn't seen it. So also important to mention is AqueroN pulled back with the 2 Marauders. They could have actually maybe continued to put out damage on the other side of the map. There was only 2 Stalkers for MaNa there, so reclaiming that position on the second Nexus would have been a little bit harder. But it's so difficult to make decisions like this in games that are this chaotic.
Yes, it is. And speaking of making decisions in chaotic games, a great decision from MaNa. Looking around on the map, he is going to find this tech lab in the barracks. On its own, not that big of a deal. But the fact that there was an upgrade trying to come on in for AqueroN and it gets instantly denied is very nice for MaNa here. He will spot this little move out Cyclone. Oh, it's going to find this Adept. And actually, the Adept might end up... I thought for just a second it was going to lead to like the biggest stasis ward of this game.
That's probably what MaNa was looking for, right? Like just to spread out the units to that side so that they all go and converge onto the stasis ward together, and then, like you were saying, a huge stasis ward could have been had. That is the type of play that you can look and trust MaNa to look for, because he is a very smart player.
Yeah, and he's very quick, and he makes great micro decisions under heavy duress. He is going to come on in here once again. Ooh, he wants this tank, and he will get it. 4 Oracles blowing up not just the tank, but also the Marauder, 3 SCVs as well. And now MaNa is in complete control of this game. He was already in a good spot, I think, but with those pickoffs, AqueroN now he's just got to be so scared. Losing that tank, you have to wonder if there's going to be some big follow-up from MaNa. Obviously, he knows he killed a lot of probes, but now you're wondering, you're like, wait, did I even kill that many probes in the early game? It feels like MaNa just has so much control. You start second-guessing yourself so much when MaNa's getting these pickoffs.
It's so difficult now for AqueroN. He's so far behind in those upgrades, like you were saying, but he will get double tech lab on his barracks, so he will be able to start catching up on that regard, right? Like getting that combat shield that got denied. I don't even think he has stims, so he has a lot of catching up to do. For me, a lot of this and this position comes back to the positioning of the Cyclone, just kind of being exposed against the 2 Oracles, knowing that there were Oracles out already, right? So if he had a supply depot to spot those 2 Oracles coming in, or if the Cyclone had been a little tucked in a little bit further back, I think we have a very different situation. But as it stands, MaNa has been able to snowball this advantage, now take a Ninja base also out on the map, and yeah, I mean, he has complete control, like you were saying.
Yeah, and we've got a pretty big commitment to Marines coming in from AqueroN, and bad news for him, MaNa's going Colossus. It is going to be very difficult to make anything happen, and now the pickoff of that tank becomes even more impactful, because as we move forward, as AqueroN commits with what is going to be possibly a no starport, just basically 2 base all in, the pickoff of that tank, like that tank represents, at this point, a quarter of his anti-Colossus, force. Like, he has nothing else to deal with Colossus in this army. So losing that 1 tank is hugely impactful.
Yeah, 1 single Marauder, and we were talking about how difficult it is to attack up this base in a previous series today, right? It's so difficult to attack up this ramp. There's plenty of room even to kite, and you can see it in MaNa's positioning as well. The shield batteries are well tucked in, and he can still stand far in front, so it's going to be very difficult to find this Colossus. And yeah, I mean, AqueroN looking for the Observer here, see if he can actually continue to move on forward, but MaNa with good force fields will shave off 4 or 5 Marines, and now has this very annoying position on the high ground with the Colossus. Already with those 2 scans spent as well, AqueroN's going to really struggle to make something happen here.
Yeah, it looks like Stim just barely not getting canceled there by these two Oracles. Great counterattack from MaNa. I really love that counterattack. It hasn't gotten a huge amount done, but it had so much potential, and it's picked off a fair number of reinforcements. Now, funnily enough, the SimCity of MaNa is actually going to work against him a little bit here. Nice force fields right there. The fact that there's no medevacs means that every unit that gets trapped up here should just be dead by these extended thermal lance Colossus. But as MaNa just continues to pick away at this army, if he can even warp in like 5 charge lots from the back, he should be able to just wipe this out.
Yeah, interesting positioning on the tanks here. I think you were saying something about the positioning here of the SimCity of MaNa and it working against them, and I agree. Maybe the tanks would have been better used on the other side here, but I mean, these ones can actually fire. However, if they were on the right, they would block off a little bit of this units like this Colossus on the right-hand side, right, to where it gets shot from multiple tanks when it tries to encroach onto the ramp. But yeah, I mean, AqueroN's trying to make some magic happen here. A very chaotic, very fun game one. But it's looking like MaNa's just going to buy this time, and he should be able to stabilize here. I wouldn't mind the new shield battery there somewhere.
I would love to actually see him just have warped in. Considering how long this siege has been at this point, I would love, and even still, would love to see him just warp in like 6 Zealots on that proxy base and just bring them in from the back. But instead, he's just going to wait for a couple of Archons, and I think once these pop, he's going to lead with them to soak some tank fire and just going to go for the break. Here it is. The army of AqueroN, it is just going to have a very difficult time dealing with this. MaNa, he should just crush through this army. The Colossus are absolutely reigning supreme. Some nice stutter step from AqueroN, but it is not going to help him out enough. Great engagement from MaNa to close it out, and very patient, more so than anything.
Yeah, I think that's the key there, was patience for MaNa, right? He knows what he has to leverage there. It's the HP on the Nexus. As long as the Nexus is not going to fall, he has all the time in the world. So just waits for that Nexus, Maybe AqueroN could have applied a little bit more pressure, sieging with 1 extra tank in range of the Nexus. I'm not even sure if that's possible, because it looked like the other tank was just hugging the first one. But if he could have applied a little bit more pressure and forced MaNa to engage a little bit earlier, that might have been his best shot. But yeah, MaNa, I mean, had plenty of time to work there, and in spite of AqueroN having a great positional advantage, right, like having that concave and holding down that ramp, the engagement was actually really good for AqueroN. He just didn't have nearly enough, because MaNa did, yeah, a great job of just biding his time and waiting until he had enough.
Yeah, and something really interesting is the fact that we're like, oh man, AqueroN, you know, like it didn't work out well for him. He didn't know about that hidden third base. And so he wasn't expecting MaNa to be able to outscale him that hard when he got such a great siege position on the natural. He was thinking to himself, like, okay, he's going to have to break out of this eventually. He's going to have to try and take a third base. And when that happens, I'm just going to take the most cost-efficient engagement, and I'm going to crush him. But what he wasn't anticipating was an entire extra base of mining and an entire extra base of resources being able to go towards that defense. And I'm sure when he saw the break coming, he didn't think the army was going to be as big as it was.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a tough position for AqueroN. I think that strategically he played a really cool game, but at the same time, it's one of those builds that you can only do once in a series, right? Very difficult to replicate those circumstances. So as much as we thought he had great chances at some points during that game, he wasn't able to convert it. And now, I mean, he has to dig deep into his bag of tricks, because like with Hellraiser, right, this is the type of player that can run out of steam. And I speak from experience, right? Like, there's only so many cool builds that you can pull out in a series to try to surprise your opponent. And we'll see if he has another one of those, or if he's gonna have to play a little bit more standard here against a player that is probably gonna easily outmatch him on the standard department of things. In the top left-hand side, it is the young hopeful from Spain, Rubén Villanueva, AqueroN.
And his opponent, playing some outstanding StarCraft there in that game number 1, it's Team Liquid's MaNa. And you know what? After having seen that game, I am more and more on board with the, like, MaNa is kind of back hype train. That was a lot of very patient and methodical decision-making from a very tough position. And we were talking about picking off SCVs with the Oracle, but it was absolutely the right call to recall that Oracle back home and just try and hold as best as he could. He just got so much done from such a difficult position, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, there are certain platitudes that casters use, and we use crutches in some situations, right? And we say stuff like, you can never count this player out. But really, when it comes to MaNa, that is one where it's not so much a platitude as much as it is just true. He's been around for the longest time, and when you least expect him, he just bounces back and is in shape to beat anyone, right? Like, that is just one of his traits, I think, as a player. And just by virtue of having been around for so long, you're going to have fluctuations. You're gonna go up and down. You're gonna have tough patches, and you're gonna shine bright sometimes. And this is a player that when he's shining, he can shine really bright. And we have seen this so far in these group stages, in spite of him being 0-2, one of the favorites to advance. But he very much needs this match to go his way.
He certainly does. And now MaNa, he is going to try and just take the series right here, right now. He has opened up double gate versus his Terran opponent and a proxy robo on the map. AqueroN, he's opened up double gas, so he's getting a one-base tech opener at least to start things off. Ooh, the Reaper is going to see these two Stalkers at a weird timing. He will get the Reaper picked off, but already this should send some alarm bells. And actually, hang on, AqueroN is also going for one base play. Like he's actually building a second barracks. Oh man, this is a wild little setup.
Yeah, and that is what's surprising to me about this approach from MaNa is, you know, you're going up against AqueroN, right? Like, you know that his strength is one base play. So yeah, I'm not sure that this is going to work out. Usually when you are aggressive against a player that was planning aggression, the first player to attack is the one that's unfavored. Much more so when your opponent kind of spots it. And this is a map where you're not sure as MaNa if your opponent has taken his back base, for example. Whereas as AqueroN, you have scouted enough to know that there is a very high commitment to units early on from MaNa. So MaNa will try to make something happen here. And AqueroN seems like he will be pretty ready, but we'll see.
Yeah, it looks that way. MaNa is going to be able to warp in some units in a little bit. This is going to be very difficult for MaNa to get anything done. War Prism will be able to, of course, provide a lot of micro potential. MaNa, nice job.
Yeah, what? Oh, well, that should not happen. I was going to say a mistake from AqueroN, actually, in not locking onto the War Prism, which he does now with the Cyclone. Needs to keep guiding. He doesn't kite, and now it's gonna fall. The Marines do not focus the War Prism. Is it gonna be able to fall? No! And now MaNa with a decent position, the tank will clear one of the Stalkers, but reinforcements coming from MaNa. The War Prism is still very low, but it will manage to ferry an Immortal, and that might just spell disaster and doom for AqueroN here. He has to go hunting for that War Prism with the Viking if he can, but it is a dire circumstance here that he finds himself in.
It certainly is. I think if he had gone for that War Prism right away with that Viking, he might have been able to actually prevent this attack from snowballing, but now we are past the point of no return. MaNa is going to be able to take game number 2 with a very aggressive 3-gate robo play. He says PvP, nah,